Welcome, everyone, to the Whisper to Roar Show. I am your host, Kym Glass. I am so honored to have some incredible guests joining our show today. We've been covering a series of helping people move through invisible to invincible. And even when we're out there networking, sometimes we feel like I'm not sure what to say, I'm not sure how to express my business. But these guests that I'm sharing with you today, not only do they have their own businesses and how they're out there networking and supporting their passion, but they've also come through a place of feeling very, very invisible in the past. And now they're thriving, being invincible. So I'm just so honored that you have chosen to be with us today. Again, I'm so blessed to have Mistie, Layne, and Melodie Donovan joining us. You're going to hear some incredible insights from them. So without further ado, I'm going to bring them on and introduce you to them. And we're going to start off with Mistie Layne. Mistie is on the front line in the healthcare industry, and she is coming to us live from her office. Mistie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kym. It's an honor.
So Mistie, when I know a little bit about your story, but I'd love for you to share with our guests. Can you take us back to that time where you first felt invisible and share with us what happened that you're able to share with our listeners today? How did that invisibility make you feel?
Well, it made me feel very small. It made me feel voiceless. My story is such a long, intricate one, but the focus of this particular invisibility is around domestic abuse and how I felt invisible at the hand of someone else, or not even so much the hand, but at the control of someone else, someone dictating my life for me, what I wore, what I ate, what kind of music I listened to. And it was such a gradual thing that happened over time that it wasn't like you were so aware it was happening. And then before you know it, you wake up with black eyes and you look around and say, what have I gotten into? And that's the part where you feel so helpless because it's so hard to come out of that. Quick backstory for me was I went from medical school to prison behind a horrific cocaine addiction. I tried cocaine for the first time in my life at 32 years old. I was a mother of two coming out of a divorce. I was vulnerable. I take full 100% accountability for my choices. No one forced me to snort that line of cocaine. It was me and me alone. And that's important that we do take that accountability. But it started a lifetime series of these bad choices in life. And with those choices come consequences. Through that horrific cocaine addiction, the domestic abuse started, prostitution started, stealing, pretty much anything that they tell you you'll do for your drug. I learned firsthand that is the truth. You will. Maybe not at the beginning, but it is a progressive disease, and eventually you will do anything. So I learned that all the hard way, and again, take accountability for all those decisions. However, around this particular topic, the invisibility part, it's so much of the control, the manipulation from my abuser. When you're scorned and humiliated, you want to just get as small as you can and hide behind anything you can find, because not so much for me, it wasn't so much the fear of him, it was the embarrassment that other people saw I was allowing it. I was ashamed of myself for allowing to be treated that way, but yet at the same time, coexisting with the cocaine addiction, couldn't get myself out of it. So for me, that's where the invisibility was.
Wow, Mistie, you shared some powerful insights. Back to what you first said, I get the frog in the pot of water, where it's heated up and heated up, and I know you and I have shared our stories back and forth, and it doesn't happen all at the same time. It's a gradual heat up until you're in control of someone else. But the other thing that you touched on, which I think is so important for our listeners to also hear, is the accountability. And
Mhm.
I think along with that accountability becomes not just the forgiveness of other people, but the biggest forgiveness is to forgive ourselves so that we can move forward. A lot of people feel stuck and they're like, but I've
Absolutely.
forgiven that person. And I'm like, but have you forgiven yourself? And sometimes we get
Yeah.
stuck in that forgiveness trap. And so on the other side of that, I see you being the front line in this COVID pandemic. I see the great inspiration in your events, how you're empowering and helping other women, whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's them sharing their voice and being who they want to be and
Mhm.
leading with their passion. So can you share with us from that perspective, what was the thing or what was the light bulb moment that shifted you from being invisible to invincible?
Um, well, my story goes many layers deep, as you know, Kym. Part of some of those consequences that came with that addiction was I killed someone in a car accident, and I went to jail and eventually to prison. And I actually wrote my book while I was in jail in a small little jail cell. And that was more for me than anyone. It was my therapy that saved me. I got out of prison. I got very fortunate. I was very blessed to get a 5-year sentence because I was facing a 40-year sentence. And when I got out and rebuilt my life, I didn't want anyone in my new life to know about that person. I wanted to bury it, pretend it never happened, pretend I was never that person. And that was unhealthy. It was toxic. It was eating me up inside. My first grandbaby was born on September the 18th, which is the same exact day that I killed someone in a wreck. And she got stuck in the birth canal, came out almost completely brain dead, blind, deaf, couldn't suck, couldn't cry. She passed away when she was 4 a year ago, a year and a half ago now. And it was actually her birth that kind of woke me up because I held her and I felt guilt. I actually let the devil convince me that because she was born on the same exact day, that was my punishment. That those things happened to her. She got stuck in the birth canal and suffered that brain injury because of me. And that's the moment when I realized, you know what? God did not save me through 10 years of total chaos to sit on my story and be ashamed of it. God saved me to be a voice to help ease suffering for other people. So that's when I decided to turn my life around. And I took that book that I wrote in prison, which was full of anger and blame, and I shifted it to accountability and forgiveness. And I became transparent about who Mistie Layne really was. I mean, that even goes to, sorry, I don't mean to cry, it gets me because I'm so passionate about how I feel about it, is it means looking in the mirror at yourself and saying, it's okay. Yes, I did these things, but it's okay, and forgiving yourself. And once I was able to do that, Kym, and I became transparent and quit worrying about the judgment, I just started sharing my story, and others felt the trueness behind it. Others felt the authenticity, and I think that's the impact that it has, is that it comes from a true, genuine place in my heart, that it freed me. Transparency freed me of the toxicity, and that's what I try to do for others. I instill confidence for them to step up and courage for them to speak out.
So remarkable, Mistie. And I feel every word that you're saying, and it's also a true reminder, just like you said, you wrote that book for yourself. But on the other side of that, the impact from your passion and what you've been through, we all have a story. We all have something that maybe
Absolutely.
we're ashamed of, or, maybe not everyone needs to know about it. But on the other side of that, um, there's such power and there's such forgiveness. And, once you break through the condemnation, so to speak, either yourself or other people. And you see, like, I see you being a light. I see you out there being a light and helping other people. And I also believe that only comes from your story and from your sharing. And so I so appreciate being connected with you. I honor everything that you've been through to be where you are today. I'm curious, when you think about your business and how you're impacting other people, do you still feel that invisibility, or did you initially feel that when you were out there networking, like, oh, these people don't know me? What are they going to think of me if they read my story? How did that impact you when you're out there networking and sharing your business? And now that you're on this other side of being invincible, can you share with us some insights from that perspective as well?
Well, it wasn't so much for me, that part of it, is it was for why will people even care about my story? I felt like a tiny fish in this huge pond of stories, because like you said, we all have a story to share, and your story today can change your life tomorrow, no matter what it is. So my biggest thing was, well, who cares about what I did? You know, how's that relevant? Because I didn't know at the time that it wasn't about me. See, when I first started sharing my story, I thought it was about Mistie and my story. And I had to learn it was about the lessons that I learned for the audience. And when I turned that part around and realized it didn't matter because it wasn't about me, that is what changed it for me. That's what made me know I'm invincible now, because I'm not on my mission proving anything for me. I'm on God's mission because I feel He saved me for this reason today to share back. And also because I learned, like I said, that transparency is what actually set me free. So I have such a passion to help others reach that point where they can be transparent, even if it's only with themselves in the mirror, not even sharing it with anyone else, just to get to that point to say out loud, this has happened. That I know how liberating that is. So for me, that's where I moved from invisible to invincible. Once I realized it's no longer about Mistie.
Wow, how powerful. I I don't even have the words to express, like, just watching your whole story unfold and see what you're doing out there. And yes, it's about the impact that you're making, but you're the voice from your experience. And so I thank you so much for sharing that. So to our listeners, how can our listeners connect with you? Tell us a little bit about your business and what's next for Mistie. What do you have coming up? I know you have some great events. You're speaking and sharing your story and your truth. And I would love for you just to share with our listeners before you have to run back on the floor at the hospital there.
Okay, so my business is Step Up and Speak Out, Mistie Layne, Step Up and Speak Out. So the website is stepupandspeakout.com. You can find me all over social media as Mistie, Mistie Layne, Layne. I have a best-selling book, which is a book about my story, which is called What Goes Up, Overcoming Your Worst to Live Your Best. That's on Amazon or at my website as well, or any bookstore. They all carry it. Walmart, Target, get it in any place. And what I do is I have writing retreats. So Step Up, part of it is to step up to your story. I can help you develop your story. I can help you. I have an anthology book that I'm also collaborating with Women Action Takers Publishing to step up and speak out for first-time authors that just want to start with a chapter. We're doing that book. I can help you write your own story, but it's all about just stepping up to the plate and recognizing that you do have a story to tell and how it can make a difference in the world. Then I have speak out workshops that follow that get you up on a stage and actually give you the experience of speaking out to an audience and saying it out loud. Because sometimes that first time is the hardest, but it's also where you're going to have your biggest growth. So I do those. I also have my own TV show called Dare to Share with Mistie Layne, which is another platform for people to step up and speak out and share their stories. That's on E360 TV twice a week. And let's see, on top of that, I'm the vice president of Chemo Buddies for Life, which I run on the nonprofit board for that. So I stay really busy, but all things around writing. The way I look at it is if I can write my story in a jail cell with paper and pen that I had to buy off of the jail commissary, you can get your story out of you, and I'm going to help you do it.
Oh, that's so awesome. So to our listeners, regardless of where you've been or what you're going through in your life, there is an opportunity for you to take your business and voice from whisper to roar. You've just heard from the amazing Mistie Layne. Make sure that you reach out to her, connect with her, and just follow her journey and see all the incredible differences that she's making in the lives of others simply by sharing her story and her perspective of what she's overcome. So Mistie, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for being on the front line, facing this pandemic every single day, and all the wonderful work that you're doing and the light that you're shining in this world. I'm just so connected and excited about what we're going to create together. And just thank you so much for being with us today and sharing.
Thank you so much, Kym. You keep doing amazing things.
Thank you. We'll be in touch with you. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And our next guest is Melodie Donovan. She is joining us from Indianapolis. Again, she is another author in this incredible book, Invisible to Invincible. And so Melodie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kym. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I'm so excited for you to share your journey. You know, I was just in California on the national book tour, and I actually got this book in my hand. I'm so excited to read your story, but I would love for you to share with our listeners here today. You know, what is your backstory of that invisible feeling? And so could you share some insights? We don't want to share everything because we want them to get a hold of this book, but could you share a little bit of your story with us?
Well, it's just really, I grew up in a very small town, and there was just the normal was, I was just wanting to get out and break the normal. And my dad was an old soul, as far as like, and old thoughts as far as like, just girls aren't supposed to go to school. And so just breaking out of that, it's kind of like I was always rebellious in that way. It's like, if you tell me I can't do something, you know I'm gonna go do it. So so went to college, and then just over the years I had a plan of working through it, and ended up here, and then I also ended up divorced, and which was kind of my plan. But then I always thought I was a rock star and was a hard worker and everything, until I ran into some opposition with some of my supervisors, and who really kind of just talked me down, and made me feel like I wasn't important, and that I was a nobody. And so I've just kind of started believing that, and didn't really have the support, if you will, of people telling me that they're wrong and you're awesome. So it was really kind of psychological, emotional twists and turns that just kind of, and then when you try to go look for another position, so I have a full-time job right now. I'm trying to do my own thing, but just going out, it's really hard to go interview and talk yourself up when you've been pushed down so much. So, but after being passed up for 3 promotions, I decided, I really just needed to do something, and found a really great co-working space, and a lady who owns it, the VIP Center, and she coaches women. And at the age of 55, 56, I decided I was going to be an intern. So, and that really kind of started my whole recovery, as far as, if you will, of having people actually tell me that you are good and you deserve better, which is something I had really kind of given up on. So it's just kind of a little story, and it's just, I have two great boys, who I always told they could do anything and be anything as long as they were willing to work hard. And so they were out there doing great things, and now they're using my words against me. So, and they're challenging me to do something, and to do something that I enjoy and love to do. And so I'm just trying to figure that out.
That is so incredible. I honor you. We talk a lot about breaking the patterns, and sometimes that next generation is just duplicating what was said to them or how they were taught.
Right.
And I love the fact that it sounds like in your story, what I'm hearing is you wanted to do the exact opposite of that. And sometimes that's how we make change happen. Like, we break that mold, we break that pattern, and we let go of other people's opinions to do and to be who we want to be, from who we are, not because of someone else. So I love your story about how that became a challenge to you. And it doesn't matter. I often say we're all on the same journey. We're just a different stop along the way. And so kudos and shout out to you to be that intern after 50. I think that is so incredible. So congratulations to you.
So yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm still working with them on an independent basis, and I just love the work, love Angie Nuttall that I got connected with, and it was the VIP center and the coaching circles there that kind of inspired me to, as an intern, I had to tell my story, and so and then I just I should probably write it down. And so here it is.
That is so incredible.
Yeah.
So on the other side of that, do you have an opportunity? I mean, I know that you share your business and what you're doing. Even, our businesses oftentimes may not be our own business, but it may be another company, a business that we're working with. So I'm just curious, sometimes that invisibility transfers over in our relationships when we're out there networking. I'm wondering, when you maybe first started out networking, or even now, do you still feel that invisibility a little bit? Or are you so far on the other side that you're comfortable in sharing who you are and what your business is, or who you're representing?
I am rather careful about right now still, during the transition of, wanting to leave my full-time job and going 100% independent, about who I share that story with. But I'm an IT professional by trade, and I do find ways to encourage other women, especially younger girls, below, that who's younger than me, that are just starting out. And because I didn't have that encouragement, and it, like a lot of industries, it's a male dominated industry. And so just any time that I can encourage somebody in the IT field, a woman in particular in the IT field, I want to do that, and I want to make those connections. So I have been fortunate to make some good connections over the years. So I do try to help, and just inspire them. And when I first started out, it was really kind of a dog eat dog world, and if you weren't stepping on people, you weren't getting up. And so now the whole theory has changed. Let's get one up, and then they'll pull, and then we'll work together to pull the rest of us up. And I really like that.
I so resonate with that. Like, it's a win-win situation.
Right.
If we are winning, it doesn't mean that someone else has to lose. And personally, for me, I love the fact, I wake up every day saying to myself, technology is my friend. Technology is my friend. And so I just love the fact that you're in that space, and as a woman that is helping people in that, because I know for me, I just want to sit at my computer and work. And when the internet doesn't work and the Wi-Fi doesn't work and I can't get my landing page done, or something happens to my website, I can go down a hole really, really fast. So the last few months, I wake up with technology is my friend, technology is my friend,
Okay,
and I'm believing that it's going to work for me today,
that's
every
good.
single day. So it's not something I was in the corporate world for over 25 years, and we had an IT department, and if I had an issue, I could pick up the phone and call someone. And I'm thankful for my IT team that helps me stay alive and well in that space. But I just so appreciate everything that you're doing. I know that that is something that's very frustrating for a lot of women in business, because we don't all necessarily understand how it works, and we just want that thing to turn on so that
Right.
we can be about our business. So I just so admire everything that you're doing in that space. And so when you think about going from invisible to invincible, can you share with us, how did that feel for you? And what advice would you leave for someone that's listening in today that may be feeling invisible? What would you share with them?
Well, I would say one of the big things that helped me is to do a vision board. And I used to poo-poo vision boards, quite frankly. I was like, I don't have time for that, to put 3 pictures on a board and, just hope it happens. But it was really, when I went through the process of doing that, in a group setting, and so it makes it a lot more fun that way. Um, but just to put those pictures out there and then put notes on there, and I added notes as I went along about things. So I really think vision boards are important, and you should put them someplace where you're going to see it and look at it and think about it, and maybe even write notes like I wrote on there when I achieved one of the goals, to remind myself, yeah, I did that, or put a little check mark by it. So I want to learn how to weld, so I put that on there. So, and when I checked it off, and when I did, I checked it off. So, but I mean, I think it's important to it to do a lot of, I don't know if soul searching is the right word, but just reach out and talk to other people. Because what I found out over the years, I was very fortunate to go through some counseling training for the church, to be a one-on-one train, called Stephen Ministry, layperson training to. And what I found going through that training with everybody else in that group, it was a small group, is that every family has some form of dysfunction. And so I always felt that my family was just totally bad. But as I came to realize that everybody has some form of dysfunction in their family, and how you deal with it. And it's really, and then Mistie, I talked about transparency. And so I think transparency is really important too, and just being able to talk to people and open up, because somebody might need to talk to somebody about something, but they're afraid that they're going to get shamed or looked at really weird. And so what I learned from that is just that you just have to start talking, and then you become more relatable, and it makes everybody else opens the door for everybody else to be a little bit more open and transparent too.
Yes, I so resonate with what you're saying, because just like you, I believe we're more similar than different, and we can learn from each other. Like your story, that's a learning point for someone else, that continuous learning and searching. And there's different settings where we can go and um, hear just a nugget of information that can shift us either in our personal life or in our business. So I
Mhm.
think that's so powerful how you shared that. And so I appreciate that. And so can you share with us, how can our listeners be connected with you? Are you out on social media? And if you would spell your name for our listeners that are listening only through
Yep.
audio.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook. It's Melodie, Melodie, Donovan, Donovan. And other than that, it's really just email, and that's Melodie, Melodie, Inc. Inc. at gmail.com. And one of the things that one of the things I recently did was launch a financial coaching business, because part of my journey was, when I was married, we almost lost our house, and it was a lot of just financial mismanagement and trying to live a way that our means didn't provide for. And so it was kind of a hard lesson to learn. So anyway, I have Hope Restored financial coaching, but you can still reach me at my email if you want to talk about that. I'm just launching that. And I am a certified coach through the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University program. And that's kind of my jumping off point, my runway that I'm starting.
That is so awesome. Well, Melodie, I thank you so much for joining us today. To our listeners, make sure that you connect with Melodie. She just has a wealth of information and technology and finances, and I know that you will be inspired by being connected with her. So thank you, Melodie, for being with us today.
Thanks, Kym.
And yes, and so Mistie and Melodie are in Invisible, from Invisible no more to Invincible forevermore. That is a full mouth load,
right?
But check out this book. It is out on Amazon.com, and you'll want to hear more insights about Mistie and Melodie's story right here in this book. I just had an incredible few days surrounded by so many of these authors at our national book signing, and so many powerful stories here. So make sure that you check out this book, and thank you all for being with us today as we help you take your business and voice from whisper to roar. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.